That was probably the lowest point of motivation I had when I began running. Hey guys, my name is Vedant and welcome to my first video. If you're watching this, I'm super blessed to have you on this channel. So today, I'm going to be taking you through my journey as a runner. It all started out when I was in 4th grade, and before I started running, I was actually in Taekwondo, and I tried out a few sports before that, but I wasn't really good at anything. And I was pretty lazy with what I did. I wasn't in very good shape at all, to be fair. I was a pretty fat, chubby little kid, and that's not how I wanted to be. So one day, my brother came back from home and he told me about running. And he was in this track club when he was in 6th grade. It was outside of school. One day, he decided to bring me along, and I was curious to see what it was all about. I remember that day vividly, where we would have to do 200-meter repeats. And it wasn't a fun day. I was probably hitting around 45 seconds for each repeat, so that's not fast at all. And I thought to myself, why even run? What's the point of this? But for some reason, my parents made me sign up, and I joined the club that day. I remember I never looked forward to running at all. I dreaded practice, and every time my parents mentioned it, I always made an excuse. Whether that be, oh, my stomach's hurting, or oh, I'm just not feeling it today, I always found a way to get out of it. But there were still some days that I would go. And over time, I developed an injury. Now, if you've ever had an injury before, you know that these really suck, and it's not fun at all if you're beginning to run and you get an injury. That's just one of the most unmotivating things you can have. And this injury grew on me. I probably had it for around a year total. Whenever I think about the injury, I have this one memory. My family went to the track to watch my brother work out, and I decided that I'd do some running as well. I tried running one lap, and that killed me. The pain from that one lap hurt so much that I was actually crying afterwards. That was probably the lowest point of motivation I had when I began running. So I decided to take a long break from running, as my parents started to realize that I wasn't enjoying it and it was just pure torture for me. But while I was taking that time off, I got to see my brother flourish and his success on the track. While I was in pain, my brother was ranking top 5 in the state meet. That was a pretty big deal for me. Whenever I saw him run, I wanted to be just like him, so that's when I began trying to get back into running. He inspired me to start training hard and go at it again. So I began training for it. I didn't have a set schedule, I just knew that I'm gonna have to train hard if I want to get the goals that I want to achieve. And one of those goals were to go to the state meet. So I spent months persevering to get my times down. Before my big breakthrough, the last official race that I ran was a 3:03 in the 800. Now that's not a very impressive time. Overtraining, I got it down to a 2:40, which is a major jump and major progress that I made. And when I ran that was about in March 2017. So then comes June. That's when summer track starts for us. It was the regional meet and only 4 people could qualify for the state meet. I remember the gun going off and I just went after it. That's when I had my first breakthrough and I ran a 2:23. So that was in 6th grade and I ended up winning that race. Later on, I went on to states and that was an experience of its own. It was definitely a lot more pressure than I've ever experienced, but it was a great experience to have. That was my first taste of what true competition looks like. Fast forward and I'm in 7th grade. I began pursuing running much more intensely. I remember from my brother's 7th grade year, he had a lot of success. So I wanted to replicate that success for my own. I began pursuing running very intensely. And over the course of my 7th grade year, I ran a 5:08 at the end to set the school record. So I was extremely proud of myself at that moment. Not even my brother came close to that time. I finally began to understand why I ran. From there, things just took off. I started training every day. After athletics practice, I'd go train some more just to get that advantage over my competition. That led me to go to nationals that summer. I competed in the AAU Junior Olympic Games. In the Junior Olympics, that's probably some of the hardest competition I've had to face in my age. It was a really nerve-wracking experience and I learned a lot from it and got to meet a lot of new people. I raced in the 800 and the 1500 and I got into the finals for the 800, and for the 1500 I ranked 16th. So as you can tell, a lot of high expectations were coming from me. By the time 8th grade started, a lot of people knew that I went to the Junior Olympics and I had some great success in running. I heard a lot of people say, oh yeah, Vedant? Yeah, he's just super talented. And that bugged me because I knew I worked ridiculously hard to get to the point that I was at. 8th grade year was also another great year. I ran a school record in the mile. What I ran during those times will probably be coming in another video. It was a nice time. Everything for my future was looking great. After my 8th grade year, we finally get into my freshman summer. I was super excited about all the things that were going on. I was doing really well over the summer, and I was placed in the top band of a marching band that placed 25th at one point of time in the nation. So I was doing really good all around. And that's when my freshman school year started to kick in. I had to manage a really tough schedule between running, band, and academics. I'd wake up at 6 a.m., get to school at 6:50, and my school would be finished at 8 p.m. with marching band practice. Obviously, this caused a lot of stress for me, and I got my first stress fracture. It was in my right foot, and it was tough to experience such a big injury while everything was going so well. Things got downhill from here. I was injured, so all I could do was watch meets. I wasn't able to run at all, and I couldn't march at all, so I was threatened by my band director that I would be kicked off the show. Nothing was going well for me at that point, and I didn't really know what I was doing. I tried to do whatever I could at that point, but it was really just a void. I gradually began running again and doing marching band when my injury was healing up, and I was able to run varsity at my state meet. As a freshman, it's a big accomplishment for me, and I hope to do it for the next 3 years. I had a blast running at state, but unfortunately, more tough times followed that. I got very sick. When my brother got the flu, I got it as well. And then from that, it became pneumonia and a sinus infection, and that took me out for quite a few weeks. So I was late getting into training for this track season, and another thing happened. I got injured again. It was yet again another stress fracture in my right foot. And that, guys, is what leaves me here today. I'm still recovering from my injury, and I'm looking for new beginnings with this channel. If you guys would, please like and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me, and I hope you guys stick with me on my journey.